Me again. Yeah, I know I've been away for a while. People we love have got sick, people we love have died, and life's been lifing, so it is what it is. I want to get on here and try to make a short video on all this. Not just this, but stuff from this side to this side. Now, a lot of people are realizing that this Erica Kirk is like, huh, there's something suspicious about this woman. And it has to do with her background. Before I say that, let me just point this out. I was away from YouTube for a whole year and a little bit longer than a year. And the only thing that got me back was this psychological operation, which is Charlie Kirk. And I saw people falling for this nonsense, and it was people I care for, and it really hurt me. So, yeah, that's the only thing that got me back. So let's recap all this stuff. And let me point out the next psychological operation y'all falling for. You're sucking that bait down just as hard as you did with Charlie. So let's go over some things. Now, people are seeing that this woman, something's up because her Christian organization in Romania wasn't so Christian. Her family has deep-rooted ties in secret organizations. Her mother and father rebuilt one of the gates in Jerusalem. And yeah, in order to have your names on a plaque on a gate in Jerusalem, you got to be a part of an organization with views that they like with lots of money. Okay? And I'm just going to place that there. Also, you have Erica Kirk's kids. Her boy went from a 2-year-old toddler to a 7-year-old. Look, his legs look like a 7 or 8-year-old in a matter of months. And oh, what else was it? Oh yeah, she just happened to walk onto a stage and win Miss Arizona. Uh, she just happened to be a millionaire going for a job interview with another millionaire. They wound up married. And what was the other one? Oh yeah, she was in a country music video, and also not only that, she's in a CIA video as well. So yeah, she just gets more and more suspicious as the day goes on. And people are like, yeah, you can't help but notice this. And then also with the PPUSA. Now, before I get into that, let me just say, because of that, people are like, oh, but Charlie Kirk was a man of God. He got honey pot. He got caught in honey pot. Oh, come on. The whole thing is shady. With TPUSA, and let me point out, Charlie Kirk's organization, this just didn't happen since September. Now, Turning Point is not just one organization. No, no, no. It's a faction of 4 organizations, all with the name Turning Point, who are held together by their leadership and board members. So you got these 4 organizations with all these millions of monies going around like it's money laundering. It's awfully suspicious like money laundering with my feeble little knowledge of money laundering. This is money laundering with a couple of shady politicians and a whole bunch of shell corporations. So yeah, all this is awfully suspicious. It looks very unchristian. But you Christians out there are still wanting your martyr. The Son of God was not enough for you, and you want your martyr. You want this instead. You want that instead of the Son of God. No, no, no. This is actually pulling you away from God, and God does not use evil people to bring good people to Him. Tell me you haven't read the book of Acts without actually telling me you haven't read the book of Acts. Come on. But regardless, all this was awfully suspicious. And I was saying it was a psychological operation from the beginning, from day one. I know for a fact that if you shoot someone in the neck and it strikes a neck bone, when it strikes a bone, if you shoot someone with a 30-06, their head will not be attached to their shoulders. Maybe by a couple little stringy, little meaty bits, but that's it. That's it. And then, next thing you know, the narrative. Oh, it took 33 hours to get his attacker. oh, yeah, that's not suspicious. And then the narrative around it, like, where's the ballistics report? Where's the autopsy report? Why was Air Force Two allowed to take the body away from state's custody without any legal transference? And then next thing you know, the body's gone. There's no record of where it went. There's no record of burial or nothing. So what happened? It's all suspicious all the way around it. And not only that, but when this happened, his hairline went all weird, and the F, the E, the M all disappeared on his shirt, but came back. There's all bunch of stuff on this that says this is awfully suspicious. Awfully suspicious. This is psychological operation. Now I knew for certain I knew it was awful suspicious and psychological operation when they came out with the narrative. But when they force this in your face for 24/7, 7 days a week for 2 weeks straight on every single mainstream and alternative media, in high definition, when they force this in your face, I knew it's a psychological operation, and you should know it's a psychological operation. What happens when something happens in the real reels and they show it to you on the news? Well, it's all pixelated. But not this. No, no, no. They put this in your face and let you see the gore 24/7, 7 days a week for 2 weeks straight. And then it's still going on with the Candace Owens and all that, Tucker Carlson, Nick Fuentes, all those nuts. But yeah, it it's now let me just say this. What is a psychological operation? It's a it's a narrative, it's a story or an event to get your emotions wrapped up in order to get your behavior. They capture your emotions in order to force a reactionary behavior. That's what a psychological operation is. So what was the whole point of Charlie Kirk? Why would they do such a thing? Well, could it be, all this, a political movement? Well, of course it was. Of course it was. Turning Point USA just happened to book a stadium 4 months before his death that they had this big, huge memorial service in. Now, during that 4 months, they did not have any type of venue scheduled up for the stadium. Tell me that's not suspicious. They book a stadium and don't have an event planned. Oh, just thank goodness Charlie died. Now they can use it. Please, please, people, are you not seeing this is something, it's very suspicious. This is very suspicious. Now, they also, powers that be has also got another psychological operation going. Now, why are they doing this? Because it's legal to do so. They repealed the law that says you can't propagandize the American people. Now, why would the government do such a thing to its people, its own people? Well, they're wanting to force a behavior. The newest psychological operation is this. The eye shooting of Renee Nicole Good. Once again, 24/7. Look at all the news agencies here. This is what, 5 days now? 5 days? And look, all these news agencies have still got it in your face. They still got it in your face, and they're showing it 24/7 in high definition. And they want you to have one of two polarizing views. They want you to either be pro or anti. Same with Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk's a little different. Charlie Kirk, if you were anti-Charlie Kirk, then you got fired. But, there's a reason for that. Because when it happens to you, when you get fired for having an opposing view, when you get in power and then force it on somebody else, then it's okay. It's okay to do it. You feel justified. I'll point that out here in a second. But anyway, you got this stuff going on here. Now let me show you something. I was looking this stuff up. I was going to make a video on this a couple days ago. got too much going on, like I said. But 2 days ago, this is what was on Amazon. You could go to Amazon less than 72 hours after this woman died. Look, you can get you a flag for the classroom. Ladies' Peace flag for the classroom. You can get that for the classroom. Classroom. Justice for Renee Good. Your children can get propagandized now. Get you a shirt. Get you a hat. Look at all this stuff that was out 72 hours after everything was shown. Now, this right here, I don't know when these came out. I know for certain both these books were out within 72 hours of her dying. Same thing with Charlie Kirk. The Life and Times of Charlie Kirk, a book commemorating his life, was out a few days before Charlie Kirk died on Amazon. How does that happen? Oh, it happens because it's a psychological operation. Same thing with this. I can't even read a book within 72 hours. But you're trying to tell me that somebody was able to find this nobody woman, investigate her, get it all together, and form it to words in a book, then edit said book, get it to a publicist, and then get it to marketing with cover art within 72 hours? Oh, look, and it's also free. It's free. So all that work within 72 hours and it's free. No, they do that because they want you to be ingrained and entrenched in this. At least this person is at least charging a little bit, and that makes me like, well, at least they're trying to make good since they didn't sleep for 72 hours with all the work they put into it. Folks, this ain't real. It ain't real. People don't do that. There's no way to examine a book from a nobody famous, so there's no information out there, and then write it, edit, publish it, market it, and then charge nothing for it. Please, please. It's called propaganda. It's called propaganda. Now, you can buy all sorts. Look at all these products. Look, here's another book. I didn't see that one out, but it's out today. Once again, it's for free. It's for free. Looky there. That might be something else. Forensic History of U.S. Immigrations and Border Policies. To the Flashpoint. Nope, nope, nope. That was during this event because it's to the Flashpoint where she dies. So here you got all this stuff. And then on top of that, if you go over here and look, they now have music. Look at all the music people wrote within 4 days. 4 days of her dying. Look at all the music. Look at this. Just look. It takes me at least 3 days to get chords down right. But yeah, look. Look. Look at all this stuff. All these people wrote, polished. Let me say they polished their music. They was able to get multiple instruments involved in said music. Get it out there. Get it edited. Get it published. And market it. This is all bullshit. Every bit of it. It was already up and going. And look, there are 20 pages of services and goods and books you can get on Renee Nicole Good. Just like with the Charlie Kirk, with his Charlie Kirk shirts and all that stuff. Now let me also point out something else. With this Renee Good, she just happened to get shot on 33rd Street. Oh, that's not suspicious. In addition, it was just a few blocks away from where George Floyd incident happened. Now, when George Floyd happened, a lot of people took to the streets and they burned a lot of crap down. Well, they don't want that with this one. No, but they know it could happen. So they had this happen in the dead of winter where people aren't going to get out and do all sorts of protesting and such. So that's why it happened in the wintertime. But notice something. You have this, let's go to Charlie Kirk. You had Charlie Kirk who was a married evangelical Christian man with two children, was gunned down. He was gunned down by this left winger over here, this left wing dating a trans man or trans woman, however you want to put it. He was he was of alternative sexual persuasion, let's just say that. And he left winger trans person gunned down this conservative Christian male. Now you were only allowed to have two viewpoints on this. Two viewpoints. Either you love Charlie or hate Charlie. If you came out and said this is wrong, this is psychological operation, you got quashed. And I know that one for a fact. But if you were over here supporting one of those two viewpoints, you could say whatever you wanted to, and the internet was all right with it. Now, did the government hurt people who said that this was all right, this was okay? Well, yeah, they got fired. But like I said, there's a reason. They want, whenever the government does something to you that's illegal and wrong, if you turn around and you get in power and you do it to the other side, it's okay and it's right and it feels right. So this left wing, shot and killed conservative Christian over here. Now, what happened over here with her? Well, you had the right wing conservative government killing a woman who was married to another woman with 3 kids. Do you not see a polarization? Polarization in this? Oh, yeah, there's a definite polarization. In fact, Steven Crowder yesterday came out. This was his little show yesterday.
Play for them. Yes,
Where do you get that? He came out and said, look, yes, it is time for tribalism. Now, what was his show about? His show was about how if you are a Christian, a nationalist, well, not a nationalist because you still have to support Israel, but if you are a Christian who is a patriot, and you're conservative, you cannot have anything to do with the left wing at this point. He said, don't even talk to him. Now, this is a guy's like, oh, change my mind on campuses. Nope, nope, that's out of the window now, out of the window. He wants you to not talk to him, don't try to connect with him, don't say anything to him. No, you can't have nothing to do with. They are the enemy, he says. And he shows this conservative guy beating up 2 or 3 liberal people. And he's like, yeah, look, ain't that funny? Look, yeah, we're much stronger than them. And this is also going on the other side, where it's like, yeah, if you are a left-winger, you can't talk to these conservatives because you just can't talk to them. They're polarizing you to an us versus them. And it's by design. Let me repeat. It is by design. Now, why would I say such a thing? Let me see if I can get the right experiment. Now, can you take me, can you take what I say for, all good? No, no, you can't. Don't take everything I say and think I'm being all truthful and all honest, because I'm sure there's some things I'm saying that ain't right. The only thing you can trust 100% is the Word of God, period. You can't trust Rose Green. But you can take what I say and you can look his stuff up. And I'm not trying to steer anybody wrong. And I'm also going to say this. I have got credentials behind my name. I have got credentials behind my name, and I can tell you with all certainty that this is what they're doing. It's a psychological operation. Now, when I was going in my doctorate studies, we had to look at all these experiments that were outlawed. You can't do them now because of ethics violations and whatnot. And a lot of these experiments are pretty bad, going back from the 20s, the 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and even into the 90s. Really, really bad. And you can't reproduce these studies. That's how bad they are. Now, I do believe, besides it being wrong to do it, a reason that we don't do it is because it shows how susceptible we are as a people to this kind of programming, this kind of training. One of these, if you go and look up Jane Elliott, you look up the blue eye, brown eye experiment, where they got a classroom and they said that the blue eye people with blue eyes, were more intelligent, more smart than the brown eye people. And they praised the blue eye people, and they talked bad to the brown eye people, and they made the brown eye people wear different outfits or different collars around their neck to signify that they're brown eye and all this stuff. And it had people separate into an us versus them society. And it was really bad. People were really nasty to others. Let's just say that. And it's not just this one experiment. It's not just that. You had other things like the decapitation and rat study. I forget what it was actually called or who was in it, but you had a scientific, scientific. You had these high, not high school. You had these undergraduate students. It might as well have been high school. Undergrad students come in, and if basically what it was, they chalked up these people's faces. They wanted to see if there was a universal face for horror or laughter or different stimuli. If there was a universal face, so they marked their faces up and then had them experience all these different negative reactions. It was a positive experience, but there's the negative. If you add something to an experiment, it's called a positive, right? That's, it doesn't mean it was good for it. But anyway, you had you had these people trying to get them to a horror state. And what they would do, they would say, "Now cut the heads off these rats." And they're like, no. And the guy in the lab coat made them do it. 67% of the people who were told to kill the rat because somebody in authority told them to do it, they did it. And that's bad. And of course, you all know about the shock experiment. If you took any type of a psychology classes in college, where the lethal amount of a shock, it was all play acting, but the subject didn't know it. So you had all this stuff about it was all right to kill somebody if a guy in a lab coat said it was all right. But you had other experiments like the robber's cave, where you divide people up into different groups. And the group identity was so strong that they didn't mind to hurt the other group. They showed no problem with it. And with the robbers cave, the only thing that brought these two groups together was strife. Like with no water, no food. They had to work together kind of thing. But when things were going good, they could separate these kids out, and they could have an us versus them. These are just a couple of examples. There are all sorts of us versus them experiments that are no longer allowed to happen. I think with the us versus them, the robber cave experiment, I think the state had to pay them money, if I'm not mistaken, because the parents thought they were just sending their kids to a summer camp. They didn't know they were being experimented on, and there was no consent. Another one with no consent was the New Bear triplet experiment. Now, the thing with the New Bear triplet experiment, that was in the 60s. That's where they took the twins and triplets and separated them at birth to see if there was a nature versus nurture. And the weird thing about that one, the records are sealed until October 25th of 2065. Why is that? Why would you seal that information? Because it was really bad, and nobody wants to pay these people for how much trauma they went through. But don't think that the government doesn't know about this, because they do. They know what is in these records, and they're using it right now on us to get these polarizing us versus them. And I always thought it was weird that they had that migration laws Now, now I call it migration laws. You notice we had a lot of people in Texas, Tennessee, and Florida coming here. A lot of people coming here from states like California, Oregon, Washington, Colorado, New York, and places like that. And then we get like this big influx. Well, they pass these laws which were against different moralities and other things, which impacted family and, family Christian values in order to get these people to these states. It's almost like a new civil war is getting ready to start rumbling, like an us versus them. And that kind of is what it feels like, especially when you got the Tim Pool channel. If you go look in IMBD, where Poole, a CIA advisor, warned civil war in the U.S. is coming. Retired generals warn 2024 military coup is likely. IMBD, IMDB rather, is fiction. It's supposed to be fiction. It's TV, playwright stuff. Yeah, I guess you can have documentaries and whatnot on it, but it's, for the most part, it's entertainment. It's entertainment. So why is Tim Pool, being a CIA advisor, warning of civil war? Tim Pool still squawks of civil war today. And then you have a Crowder saying it's time for tribalism. Hmm, awful weird. Then you got the likes of Tucker Carlson saying that we need to be, tribal, and the left, you can't talk with them. And he's over here talking to Nick Fuentes, and Tucker Carlson's son takes up arms in mega civil war 2 weeks ago. But Tucker Carlson's dad is CIA. Alex Jones stated his dad is CIA. And then you got this guy, CIA advisor. And it all goes together. It all just grabs hands with one another. All this, I'm telling you folks, all this is nothing but a psychological operation. It's a psyop. Please don't fall for it. All this does is get you out of the arms of God and throws you out to be consumed by the devil. I'm telling you, I'm telling you, I'm telling you. You don't have to know my name or know that I have credentials a mile long behind it, and I know what I'm talking about with this stuff. You don't have to know it. You do have to trust the Word of God, and I'm telling you, God is not using evil people to get good people to Him. And all this stuff, you can see it. You can see it. You can see it. You can see it. I'm telling you, folks. Yeah, turn off that television. Quit believing this stuff. If it's in your face 24/7, if it's in there in high definition, it's a psychological operation. If you can only have one of two opposing viewpoints, it's a psychological operation. You need to be careful with this stuff. You need to be careful, and do not wrap your emotions into it, because that's what they want. They want you to get your emotions involved in order to get a behavioral response. Anyway, folks, just want to point that out. And as always, please read your scripture and have a fantastic day.